Ready to go live when you are.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, we're good. Mark.
Affirmative.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. I'm Pauline Proch, Chair for the Nantucket School Committee, and it is May 4th, 2021. Before I officially start the meeting, I would like to say that this meeting will have public comment. For those of you who are watching and would like to participate in public comment, I ask that you please go on to the government site, the town site, or Nantucket Public Schools website and connect through there requesting a Zoom invite so that you may be able to participate as a guest in the Zoom meeting. You will need to enter your name and an email, and that will allow you to be heard. Jen Erickson, who is manning the operations, if you raise your hand or put in the chat that you would like to speak, Jen Erickson will be able to unmute you and you can ask or have your comment. And I'd like to do this so it gives people time, as we've learned that sometimes it takes a little bit of time connecting to YouTube. So thank you everyone for your patience as I do this. I am Pauline Proch, Chair of the School Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Committee members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jennifer Iller.
Present.
Thank you. Steve Sordovic.
Affirmative.
Thank you. Tim Lepre.
Present.
Thank you. And Zona Butler. I believe Zona is not able to join right now, but okay. Thank you. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. I will be recognizing those who are presenting tonight. Superintendent Elizabeth Hallett.
Present.
Thank you. School Committee Clerk Logan O'Connor.
Here.
Thank you. Director of Finance Martin Engeloff.
Present.
Director of Facilities Diane O'Neill.
Present.
And for our campus plan update, folks from the SMRT, Dick Webb.
Present.
John McMeeking.
Present.
Nick Vaughan.
Present.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I don't think I've missed anyone. This open meeting of Nantucket School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows for public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Nantucket School Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom webinar app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. May I have approval of the agenda?
So
So
moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Jen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Tim, your vote? Thank you. And Steve?
Aye.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to start off with Superintendent's report. Dr. Hallett.
Good evening, everyone. I will start with a recap of return to in-person learning for CPS and for the high school. So last Wednesday, we welcomed our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to in-person learning at CPS. Approximately 383 students are now in person with 42 students opting for cohort D. Things have gone very smoothly, according to Mr. Horton, Mrs. Lombardi, and Ms. Maylou. Students have been doing an excellent job in following the health and safety protocols, really without a hitch. And the general consensus from students and staff is that everyone is really happy to be back in person, especially those students who are in cohorts B and C and haven't seen each other in a long time. There were some great stories about students reconnecting and just being so happy to see classmates that they hadn't seen in such a long time. So that's really wonderful. Counselors and support staff have been at the ready for any student who is feeling a little uncomfortable or concerned, and teachers really welcomed their students and helped them to feel safe in the first few days. So we're now into our first full week this week. Lunches are going very well with students in the cafeteria. They're still eating in classrooms, and some are eating outside under 4 new tents that we have in the courtyard. One of the only challenges is on the adjustment for students who have been accustomed to more asynchronous time. Asynchronous time is time that they are not on camera or in person, face-to-face with their teacher. And this has happened particularly with encore teachers, meaning that they've had, these students have kind of gone through more self-paced learning. And now it's different because they are in class with their teachers. So it's a little adjustment, but things are moving along just fine. For the high school, they are gearing up for welcoming their students back in person tomorrow, May 5th, and are finding that more and more students in cohort D who originally requested on the survey to remain in cohort D are actually asking to return in person. Teachers are prepared, classrooms are set up with desks 3 to 6 feet apart, and any class that didn't fit into a designated classroom space at the 3 feet mark has been relocated to a larger classroom. Lunches will still happen in classrooms, but also will happen in the cafeteria and also in some of the hallways at the counters, because in some of our high school hallways there are counters, and we have some stools where students can sit 6 feet apart safely and eat their lunches. In speaking about the high school, I'll share a little bit of planning around the class of 2021 graduation and end of year celebrations. So we will be holding the high school will be holding a senior banquet that will be held outdoors on June 3rd. Only senior class members will be participating along with advisors and administration. All protocols will be held to accordance of what we have in the schools, and masks will be worn at all times, except for eating, in which case they'll be separated. So the class of 2021 car parade, which was similar to last year's car parade, will be happening on the afternoon of June 9th. So come out and see our seniors as they are celebrated. Graduation will be on Saturday, June 12th at 1 p.m. and it will be held outdoors at the Bacchus Fields. Chairs will be provided for graduates, for guests, and each senior student will can have up to 4 guests. The rain date for graduation will be on Sunday, June 13th. Junior prom has a tentative date of June 19th. We wanted to put junior prom after graduation so that there was a chance, the seniors had their chance to really be in the spotlight. The juniors are currently, like I said, we're holding the date of June 19th. There's a committee of parents, students, teachers, and administrators that are working to determine the safest venue and dealing with all of the details. And like I had said before, all students must be masked throughout all of these events. Excuse me. Along the lines of returning to in-person learning and COVID-19 relief funds, I wanted to share with you some of our some details about our ESSER funds from the federal government. We have recently submitted ESSER 2 grant funds equaling approximately $425,000. A large portion of this funding has been allocated to professional services, meaning consulting and professional learning for staff and administrators, stipends towards additional instructional learning teams, student support with social and emotional learning, and extended day learning opportunities for students. The ESSER 3 grant is not available yet, but we will be certain to update you when it does become available. And just a reminder, we are strongly discouraged from using these funds to hire additional staff, since the grant is finite and the additional positions cannot be guaranteed in future general operating budgets. Martin, I know you're on, and if there's anything I missed, you are more than welcome to add any details about the ESSER 2 and 3 grant funds.
Thanks, Dr. Khaled. No, it's we were only allowed to apply for ESSER 2 funding after April 17th. We applied the following week, immediately after the timeline became available for the application. So the application has been submitted, and ESSER 3 we anticipate sometime in the fall or during the summer months, and it's going to be substantially larger. ESSER 3 right now, the preliminary estimates are over $800,000 allocation to Nantucket. And no, just to confirm, yes, we've been discouraged to hire full-time positions that are permanent, but we can expand these funds obviously on anything related to what Dr. Khaled just spoke about. Just to add, we have allocated some amounts for supplies, obviously for cleaning, sanitizing the buildings as we continue in the fall, and for some instructional technology. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I, since the timing seems to be right, neither of these are from the 3 million that the town is getting. Is that correct?
That is correct. These are not from the town. They're separate.
Then are we going to approach the town to ask for some of that funding? It's supposed to be, if I understand correctly, some of it is to be directed education. Now, I completely understand that this is one-time funding. We can't hire, long-time teaching staff or anything. But it does seem to me that it's worth seeking a share, because we have, and I checked on Island, a number of mental health units, social workers, psychologists, and I'm sure we can get tutors as well. My concern is that we try to do everything we can to help remediate the educational, emotional, and social concerns that our kids have faced. So are we going to, or have we started to discuss this possibility with the town?
So currently we have, if you look at all of the federal funding that's coming directly to schools, it is almost $1.6 million that will give us that we can use over the course of the next few years. That is plentiful, along with our operating budget. So we are at this moment feeling quite comfortable with the way we are using these funds. Certainly, if we see that there is a necessity and we have to ask, or we need to request funding from the town, that I'm absolutely open to doing that. But I know Martin will attest to the fact that we're receiving such a large amount from the federal government that we're able to use. We're very lucky and feeling quite comfortable in what we have and what we can use for the number of students that we have on the island. So, Martin, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free.
We've had numerous discussions with DESI about the funding, and also with town. I believe to your question, Steve, it's a separate funding that is given to them. We get our allocation from the same appropriations. ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 come from all these relief packages that were just voted, one on December 27 by former President Trump and one by President Biden. So those are the amounts that are designated to the schools directly. As Dr. Khaled just pointed out, we're comfortable. I mean, we've expanded the coronavirus relief fund. That was $375,000. Then we received an additional $81,000 for coronavirus prevention that we have almost expanded, because that one was to be used by the end of this fiscal year, June 30th. So we still have roughly $35,000 from ESSER 1, which we can use till 2022. And just to point out, I mean, these funds, they expire on a yearly basis. So SR1 expires 2022 September, SR2 in 2023 September, and SR4 that we have still not applied for is can be used up until 2024. We're very comfortable with these amounts so far. The budget year has been very steady, and we feel that we should be okay. But I'll open the discussion to questions.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, and it's clarification, and I apologize if I've asked previously, but the federal government is going to pay for lunches for the entire next school year.
That is correct.
Will mean a significant savings to us too, won't it?
Yes and no, and Martin will certainly bring that up in our in his report coming up on food services. But go ahead, Martin. You're welcome to address it now if you wish.
As you see, when I present the third quarter, we are facing a huge deficit when we're simply relying on reimbursements. Now, there is a caveat to that. We were, for a huge portion of the year, we were separated into cohorts. We had people that were remote. The participation certainly wasn't what it would be when we have everybody back in person. And if next year is a normal year of sorts, meaning everybody is back in person in school, we anticipate higher participation rate and obviously higher reimbursement numbers. But this year we're running a very big deficit. So I would caution for us to make a determination that it will be better if they're free for everybody. We are reimbursed at a predetermined rate, but we still get invoiced from Chartwells for all the labor of their people and their benefits. So it's been a challenging year for the school lunch. But to your question, Steve, yes, that's what we got from USDA. We are now awaiting a confirmation from DESI, but that would come probably within the next week, that next year we'll be eligible to continue serving lunches free of charge for all kids.
Thanks.
Okay,
So
sorry, continue.
sure. So the next I'd like to talk a little bit about enrollment. We have our enrollment report for the month of May, and we are at 1,661 students. So we have gone up from the previous month by 9 students, with 16 enrollments and 7 withdrawals. Much of this movement can be attributed to the news of returning to in-person learning. We have seen a few homeschool students return to our building. Other students have arrived with their families who have secured seasonal work on the island. So that's pretty much what I've got for enrollment. The school committee vacancy posting, just an update on that. The school committee vacancy has been posted in the Inquirer and Mirror. Letters of interest are being accepted at central office until May 20th, 2021. And we are in the process of securing an interview date with the school committee sometime in early June for this position. School council, there was a request for some clarification around school council. The school committee policy that you've received in your packet explains the use of school council for legal consultation on a regular basis. As you can imagine, this past year has been very unique, with a lot of new legislation around COVID-19 leave. We have had lots of negotiation meetings with the NTA on impact bargaining. There have been some civil rights issues, assistance with social media policy, and other necessary consultation, which kind of falls under the routine consultation for any school system to function effectively in a school year. These requests are routine, even though the content of them may be a little different this year based on COVID-19, based on the pandemic. But as in previous years, the request for legal assistance has been routine. Through the course of my short tenure, Nantucket Public Schools has worked with 2 firms that specialize in educational law and labor relations. And I know that Logan O'Connor can certainly explain more about the history. But just to give you an idea of what we have spent this year so far, we have spent approximately $39,000 for legal fees, which is certainly higher than in past years. But again, because of the nature of all of the work we've had to do and with the newness of COVID-19 and and how to deal with all of the ins and outs, never having had to deal with this kind of a thing before. It is normal, and I would say we are right in the same level as really any school system that would have had to request legal assistance around these issues. So Logan, if there's anything in particular that you'd like to add, please feel free around the history of legal counsel before me in my 2 years.
Logan, you are muted. If I can't see if you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's really needed or not. We do have the two firms. We use them differently in different capacities. It has been like that for almost 2 decades. I've been dealing directly with them for a decade, and we are very fortunate. Our counsel is so spot on, helpful, always responsive, often no charging. They're terrific, and they're here, so that we have preventative counseling and we don't land ourselves into litigation situations. That's the primary function.
Thank you, Logan. I can see, one moment, Steve, thank you. I can see Tim and Jen and Steve on the screen. As I mentioned, if you can just raise your hand or put in the chat if you have comments or questions for Beth's presentation. And I did see Steve's hand up. Tim, did I see your hand up? No? Okay, Jen. No. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, my concern, well, I guess my first question is to Logan and maybe Tim, because he's been around forever. At some point in time, did the school committee vote to hire these counsels? Because I'm looking at the policy and it says, and I quote, "A decision to seek legal advice or assistance on behalf of the school system will be made by the committee." So at some time in the past, did this committee vote to delegate the ability to request help from counsel to the superintendent and executive secretary?
I believe you're going back to Alan Myers, Bob Pelicone for sure. The school committee, when Bob Pelicone was here and when he was leaving, I'm sure Tim can answer to this. They were working with a firm that was Long and DiPietro, and Long and DiPietro became so busy that I believe they were not able to be as responsive as the school committee had wished. And so the committee decided that they wanted to reach out to a firm that would be a larger firm that would be able to be more responsive time-wise. And that is how they got to another firm, which was Deutsch Williams prior, and was a connection with Elizabeth Valerio, who is on the board of MASC. That firm then broke into two, and we went with Valerio, Dominello, and Hillman. And I personally have been working with Liz and Valerio and Nick Dominello and others in that firm for 8 years with quite a responsive times and connections in small things and large. And I've also been able to work with Long and DiPietro, and I work with both of the heads of the firm for other things that are needed. So it's going into 2 decades that this has been put into place, long before me. So I'm sure that Tim can probably answer beyond my memory of knowledge of that.
Thank you, Logan. Tim, I see you unmuted.
Since I have a certain antipathy towards lawyers that aren't related to me, I have stayed out of it. I mean, I believe at some point the committee did vote on, and I don't remember which one, but that, this could go back to John O'Neill. And we sort of kept our hands out of it. And only if there were going to be big items were we involved. I mean,
Okay.
probably the most, I think some problems we had several years ago, the committee was involved, but generally not.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
I'm
Steve just
concerned
wants,
that we're overusing council and it's costing too much. Some of these issues, for example, the business about replacing Zona. We had advice from the town about what we could do. The town administrator, to whom reference has been made on other matters. And I just don't think that we needed to involve the lawyers in this. And y'all know I'm a lawyer, so I'm not on Tim's happy list, I guess. But I just am concerned that we're overusing and relying on these folks. And I'd like that to be given some thought.
thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Steve.
I've got,
So moving on, I apologize. I missed public comment after my mention. So I would, before we go on to our presentations and discussions, I would please permit me to just ask if there is anybody joining us for public comment.
There were 2 people on. There's only one on now, and he has not raised his hand.
Thank you, Jen. And also again, before presentation, I see Amanda Mack has joined us. Amanda, could you please just confirm that you can hear me and I can hear you, please?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to presentations and discussions of interest. I'd like to invite Dick Webb and John McMeeting and Nick Vaughan to join us, please, to talk to us about the master campus plan.
All right,
Gentlemen.
Pauline, thank you. Again, Nick and John and I are all with SMRT Architects, familiar with many of you all. Good to see familiar faces. I wish we were making this presentation in LGI and not virtually, but one of these days we'll enjoy that again. What we wanted to do is give you an update on the campus planning efforts that actually started back in 2019, suspended for a little bit this past year as we all grappled with the COVID situation, and but we've been able to reestablish, re-engage, and really want to bring the progress of the campus planning to your attention tonight. And again, this is very much in one sense, a work in progress, but we're comfortable. We're the committee, I think we're closing in on a direction that we're very, very excited with. Before I go any further, I do want to introduce, though, formally to you all, because I'm not sure you all have formally met John McMeeking. John McMeeking is a landscape architect with SMRT. John and I have worked on many of the site and athletic projects on the campus. With John and I tonight also is Nick Vaughan, senior architect with SMRT. And I'll explain, while there's been generally an athletic focus to this campus plan, there's some very critical architecture that Nick has played a key role in. And Nick leads our education practice. So I just want to formally introduce John and Nick to you all. So Jen, if we could load up the presentation. All right, and we can go, maybe Jen, we can go right to that next slide. Just want to spend a little bit of time, again, quick, the target is 15 or 20 minutes or so, talking a little bit about the history of the campus planning to date, the need for the athletic improvements, and then we'll describe the actual improvement or project components, review some of the benefits, and then certainly talk about schedule costs associated with the project. So Jen, the next slide, if you would, please. This is an image of the campus master plan as it is planned currently, as it is envisioned now. And just to orient you, on the left-hand side of the image is Sparks Avenue. Surfside is at the bottom of the image. Kind of bisecting the site is First Way, and over on the right-hand side, sandwiched between the natural grass fields and the intermediate school, of course, is Bacchus Lane. The focus of our athletic attention is in the area directly behind the high school, where the current track and baseball fields exist. But I want to call your attention to really the center of the site. Before we embarked on the athletic component to this project, we felt it very important and critical to make sure that as we planned the campus, we had a location, we had the optimum location identified if and when a fourth school facility would ever be required to be constructed on that campus. So right in the center of the site, you will see exactly a dotted line that kind of overrides the existing JV baseball field, goes very close and to the central offices and the parking that were built as a part of the intermediate school project. That location is the location that we have identified if the need were ever to arise for a fourth facility. And this is where, from an architectural perspective, Nick worked closely with John and I to develop a building footprint that responded again to a hypothetical need for this facility. Again, the whole goal is, we're very proud of all the facilities currently. Nantucket is very unique, where all the facilities are on one campus. We didn't want to move away from that, so we wanted to make sure we had the right space for the need, if it ever was ever was required in the future. Jen, the next slide, please. I referred to the campus planning, and this is a graphic that really illustrates how we have been for the last 8 or 10 years planning the campus, and the importance with the finite real estate to plan the campus properly and efficiently. So some of the initial phases, phase 1, before we relocated the Nantucket Gardens and some swing play apparatus. Phase 2 was when we built the main parking area behind central offices, and part of that was also the construction of the cross-campus drive to assist in our campus circulation. Phase 3 involved the renovation or the demolition of the wood shop area and the construction of the addition at Cyrus Pierce. Phase 4 was the big project. That was the construction of the new intermediate school with all the site and circulation improvements associated with it. But since then, we have built phase 5. We built storage buildings behind the skate park off of Bacchus Way. Phase 6, we have built the playground and the basketball court that you see as you drive down Bacchus Lane. Phase 7 have prepared the site in anticipation of the construction of the baseball field. We have phase 8, moving to the opposite corner of our campus, have planned and are bidding the parking modifications associated with what we refer to as the high school pool parking area at the corner of Sparks and Bacchus. And then, as I referred to earlier, phase 9 now that is currently being bid is the construction of the relocated varsity baseball field, and in addition to that, the construction of tennis courts, again located in that corner area of our property. Phase 10 is what we're really going to be talking about tonight, is our athletic improvements, but understand that there is more planning to go. We are not including all of the components in this initial phase 10. Phase 11 involves the reconstruction of the team room facility. Phase 12 involves the construction of restrooms and support space and concessions area to service the field complex. And then phase 13 was an important component as we embarked on this initial planning, was trying to take advantage of trying to find areas for construction of potential future faculty housing. So again, want to stress how we are trying to be as diligent as we can to properly plan the campus to make sure that nothing has to be undone at any point should program needs arise. Jen, if I could have the next slide. Some of the needs for the athletic improvements, I think it's important to understand, again, what we have right now and some of the needs. We have a very high participation rate at the high school and at CPS, over 30%, which really is much higher than state and national averages for athletics. Because all our fields are natural grass, we are spending approximately $40,000 every year to repair and resod football and soccer, natural grass football and soccer fields. That operation not only costs money, but it shuts down the fields, many times closing them all summer long. So we lose the ability to use the field in addition to the cost. The track and grandstand. Nantucket High School is the last remaining public high school with a cinder track in the state of Massachusetts, which is a key need in the context of having a track that conforms. This track does not conform to National Federation standards, so it really is difficult to develop a track program for the high school. The current grandstand the existing grandstand does not also meet current building code requirements. Next slide, Jen. The athletic field, as I talked about the participation rate, this is putting pressure on the natural grass fields. And natural grass fields can even with irrigation only accept a certain amount of play. And so this participation rate is putting a lot of pressure on the natural grass fields. And you can see in the photograph the wearing of the center area of football, the football lacrosse field area. We're trying every time we can to bring fields into standards. The varsity soccer pitch is really set at a minimum dimension right now. We would like to increase and improve that playing dimension, particularly for soccer. And we certainly know through all the work on the campus, the continued need for improving and increasing on-campus parking capacity. Next slide, Jen. So this is just a snapshot of the proposed athletic improvements, and there's really two key components to it with some support, and that it starts on the right-hand side of the image with a new track and field facility. Closer then to Sparks is a second turf field, and then in the middle, sandwiched between the two, are some parking improvements. So I think I'll hit each one of those individually. Jen, if I could have the next slide. Again, the first starts with the new track. It's a 400-meter National Federation compliant track venue. It's engineered in the configuration of an unequal oval quadrant configuration with 6 distance running lanes and 8 sprint lanes on the North Straightaway. Both of the D areas, or the areas at the turns, are synthetically surfaced to support long and triple and high jump activities. The track will be a complete synthetic surfaced track with a continuous interior perimeter trench drain shown in that image below the text here. Again, this will be a new 400-meter track. The location is generally in the spot of the existing track, but you can imagine by addressing the geometry, there's a little bit of, if I can say, push and pull in terms of its location in that venue. Next slide, Jen. Inside of the track is multi-sport field number 1. The playing dimensions, not the turf dimensions, but the playing dimensions allow us play of 210 by 360. So we have been able to increase field of play if we desire to play soccer in this venue. The dimension to that end do support regulation football, soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse play. So it really is proposed as a true multi-sport sort of facility, with the use and the acknowledgement that football will be an active participant in this sport. It is proposed as a synthetic turf system with an underlayment pad to help address the shock attenuation issues associated with football. The lines will be permanently inlaid with logos, so there's no need to be on a periodic basis relining the fields. One of the key components also for this project will be this field currently, the football field currently is lighted. The proposal will improve the lighting. Currently, the lights are producing or just under 30-foot candles. There'll be a slight increase in the amount of lighting, but more importantly, a dramatic increase in the quality. And Jen, if you could go to the next slide. We've just got some pictures here. This upper picture is of our field at Nantucket High School, and you will notice some of the hot spots, so to speak, with the lighting on the field and some of the darker areas. If you now look at the lower right-hand image, that is an LED 30-foot candle lit field with just improved uniformity, so that there is less of the difference between essentially the hot spots or the hot spots and light spots and dark spots. Also, you'll notice in that picture in the lower right, the sharp cutoff of the field, how the field is lighted and then things go dark fairly quickly. And we put this graphic in here in the lower left just to demonstrate how these fields do have a very sharp cutoff with much more improved translation, reduced glare moving off the field. And the company that we work with quite often is very active in adhering to dark sky initiatives. So it's a significant quality of lighting improvement proposed for multi-sport field number 1. Jen, if I could have the next slide. Associated with this field on the north side of the field is a new grandstand system, seating system. It will total and produce 980 seats. Of those 980 seats, 12 seats will be handicapped accessible. They are evenly and equally distributed throughout the grandstand. So there's handicap seating at both the lower levels and at the upper levels of the grandstand facility. Jen, if I could have the next slide. Is the design of this system is set up such that, so what we are doing is we're going to build this grandstand into the hill, and part of the earthwork associated with building the field will be to rebuild and actually build a little taller hill and a little more significant hill. So in essence, this is a top and bottom loaded grandstand that will be set into the hill. So we'll have access at the high level and access at the lower level. And this section just begins to illustrate how The track, we're engineering the track to be at about elevation 25.5. The first row of seats is 4 feet above that. The last row of seats essentially is 16 feet above the track and field elevation to optimize viewing to the field. At that top level as well will be a press box facility. And Jen, if I could have the next slide. Just a fairly straightforward pre-engineered grandstand facility, which does allow both separate coaches offices for the coaches, and then in the center area more of the filming and announcing sorts of functions. Next slide, Jen. The second multipurpose field closer to Sparks Avenue, again, is proposed as multipurpose, but primarily supporting field hockey and lacrosse play. To that end, we're looking at engineering a little bit different type of turf system that is even more appropriate for field hockey. The playing dimensions are 210 feet by 330. And again, with the program direction generally supporting lacrosse and field hockey, this allows the teams to be located on the Sparks Ave side of the field and spectator viewing to be located on the south side of the field, closest to parking and other support facilities. Next slide. We are proposing 2 major parking area additions to the project. The first one is, again, between the 2 synthetic turf fields. It provides, we reconfigure some of the parallel parking currently that runs alongside varsity baseball field right now. We have a net additional parking count of 45 spaces that includes handicap spaces. And again, we also are including and engineering a cleaner circulation pattern for arrival and drop off to both of these facilities. Next slide, Jen. Thank you. On the south side of the track and field is a smaller visitor parking area for some future visitor grandstand seats, but also more importantly, this parking area provides us the on-grade access directly onto the field. So this would be the area that the ambulance would be positioned during football and lacrosse and any other sorts of games, again, providing direct on-field access to the facility. 17 new parking spaces are proposed in this parking area. So when we add the 17 to the 45, what we are proposing, the plans propose a net increase of 62 parking spaces to the school complex. And again, I think that's something that we all understand. We always are looking for more parking. Next slide. Just some quick slides on some of the utilities that are proposed as part of the project. Certainly, I talked about the lighting for multipurpose field number 1. So we do have electrical improvements proposed coming out of the switch room gear in the high school, servicing the track and field number 1 and press box. We also are proposing to putting conduit in the ground while we are under construction for field number 2. We are not proposing to light field number 2 at this time, but we do think good planning does suggest that we put the conduit in the ground now while we are building the field. We also are proposing in a similar fashion water and sanitary sewer connections to service the future buildings, the team rooms, and concessions and restroom areas. Our point of connection for sanitary sewer is down at the intersection of Cow Pond, and our point of connection for the new water service is up the hill a little bit closer to, again, to the visitor parking area. But again, these are proposed for while we are doing all of the heavy earthwork and have the site disturbed, now is the time we want to bring these services in for future use. And then lastly, as we are building the new track and building new parking areas, we have requisite stormwater management areas and galley systems. These are similar galley systems to what were designed and engineered for the parking areas associated with the cross-campus drive, with the main parking area, and certainly all the improvements between the elementary school and the intermediate school. So we want to just spend a couple minutes and just talk about what we see as the benefits. We talked about the needs, and now we want to talk about the benefits of the athletic improvements. Certainly, number one, if we focus on the track, bringing Nantucket Public Schools a code-compliant track, allowing the athletic department to continue to develop your track and field program. In discussions with the athletic director, he was very specific. Chris was very specific in pointing out that the track he did not feel was going to negatively impact participation in any of your other existing sports. Rather, it was going to just add and bring another vehicle for students who currently don't participate in athletic events to be able to now participate. So in addition to a code compliant track, we would certainly, again, this project is proposing replacing the grandstand with a grandstand with full accessible seating and complete code compliance. We also, I referred earlier to the participation rates of the athletes, just with the growth and the numbers of the student athletes and the demands on your field usage. By the construction of both of these fields as synthetic turf fields, it's generally understood within the athletic administration community that a synthetic turf field programmatically supports 2 to 2.5 times the amount of a natural grass field. So we are bringing, with increased students and increased participation, the fields are able to more properly respond to those program needs. Synthetic turf gives us longer playing seasons. It gives the athletic directors a little more confidence when visiting teams are getting ready to jump on a ferry in America, if I can say, to come over to the island, and weather's a little bit iffy. These fields drain incredibly well, and so there's much less likelihood of cancellations. And they are studied and studied and studied regarding their safety, and because of the consistency of play, studies are showing how the synthetic turf fields are actually safer than many natural grass fields. I talked about the inclement weather, but I really want to focus on the second bullet, the understanding that.
May I just interrupt you for a minute
Yes,
and
Pauline.
just check that everybody is muted? We're getting some feedback from somewhere. I'm not sure where. Okay. Mark, if you can hear us from channel 18, we are getting noise. I think everybody looks muted, so.
I was getting some nice music, Pauline.
Sorry, Dick.
No, it's fine.
Okay, please continue.
Well, I'm close to wrapping this up anyway, but I really want to emphasize with what we've been through this past year, the social and emotional and physical and educational needs for outdoor sports, and the importance of this project as it is one component in terms of student life on campus. And certainly, again, also want to highlight synthetic turf fields. They are not no maintenance, but they are significantly reduced maintenance costs as we compare them to natural grass fields. Next slide, Jen. So want to quickly go through the project schedule. We have completed the preliminary design and estimating. Now the project moves into a little more public informational and town financing sorts of components that would work summer and the fall. The thinking is to officially make our funding request at ATM 22, which would again then be followed by a town meeting due to the size of this, or town election due to the size of this project. Funding available in July of 22. We do have to complete the final bid documents, but the hope is then we would bid it in fall of 22. Construction in as soon as Mother Nature allows in 23, with the goal of having the track and field complex ready for use in fall of 23. And I will say one of the other real advantages of synthetic turf over natural grass fields are when the construction is finished, the fields can be played on. Natural grass fields, if we construct a new natural grass field, we typically are waiting 2 years before that field can go under, can be played on. So synthetic turf fields are have a significant advantage in timeline to begin to bring that program capacity to the benefit of the athlete. Next slide, Jen. Want to talk a little bit about project costs, and I really want to emphasize the difference between project cost and construction cost. When we talk project cost, what Nick and John and I are talking about, it includes the actual construction costs, and understanding that we are constructing this project on the island of Nantucket, not on the mainland. But the project costs also include contingencies, as we are not building this until 23. We've included escalation in the project costs, all of the design and engineering
Yeah, I was wondering,
costs.
hold on one second, please.
Yeah.
I'm flying Thursday night with 2 cats. Do you
Hello,
have anything that I could give them that would calm them
Logan,
down?
could
if
you
not
get in touch
dangerous?
with Mark, please, and let him know he's not muted?
I'm
Would that
trying.
be possible? Yeah, thank you.
And Sweepy?
Can you mute if anyone has the ability to mute them by chance?
I can't mute them. I'm trying to.
No, I can't either. Okay.
We're close, Pauline. Let me just quickly,
Okay.
we've got a little break
I
here.
did, but I never actually got any. Yeah.
No.
Okay. No, it's all right.
Okay.
Why don't you continue if you can, Dick?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we
All right, thanks. And it's for 2 cats.
includes
Okay.
design and engineering
Yeah,
fees,
okay, thanks. Okay,
the
bye.
inspection costs, all of the testing costs during construction. All of these components are wrapped up into what we identify as the project cost. And at this point, this project cost is estimated at $10.5 million. And wanted to review that again, review all those different components that make up that $10.5 million number. So with that, I really do want, if we can go to the next slide, we've got a graphic of the campus master plan again, and really wanted to open it up for any discussions. And again, John and Nick and I are really excited with this project, and just it's the next step in the planning and the development of the campus, and we think it's a very logical and appropriate next step, but really open it up for questions and discussion now.
I have a question.
Yes, Steve.
Gonna have one
No, I
set,
think it's Tim. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, Tim, I'm sorry.
we're only gonna have one set of seats on one side.
for the main multi-sport field, initially we're going to have Tim seats just on one side. There is an area dedicated for visitor bleachers, visitor seating. I think it's about 250 seats that is planned for, but the actual bleachers were not going to be included in the project at this time. But the area is earmarked for their future installation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jen, I see your hand up. Yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation, Dick.
Hey, Jen.
Hi. I think everybody here knows how important safety is to me, and I'm always thinking safety first. One topic that you didn't discuss that I hope you're really thinking about is, well, first of all, the drop-off and pickup circulation. That is so important and can always use assistance. But my concern is the pedestrian paths and the sidewalks, because even now, I don't think we have the ideal situation with students, you know, having to go through our new parking lot off of First Way. They're, you know, coming from the elementary school or the intermediate school in one direction, coming from CPS high school in the other direction, and they're, you know, interjecting that parking lot in two different locations as cars are coming and going around, you know, the corner to exit. So I really hope that we're looking, because that new parking area between the two fields looks like it's going to be where we have the current, you know, pedestrian path right now for our students. So I just really want to make sure that we're being extra cautious with the cars coming and going, and we have a safe place for our students to be walking.
Yeah, Jen, I absolutely. And I should have pointed that out, that part of that parking area is we are actually, you know, right now the cross campus walk comes up to a point and then it kind of, we lose the walk as you're going kind of by the baseball field. And so what we are proposing is, no, that walk continues all the way on through. So it's off of the parking area. And it's a dedicated walkway that works all the students toward Sparks, toward Boys and Girls Club. And I will say also that, again, there will be, I did not highlight it in the presentation, all these fields will be fenced, and similarly we will have like we do on that cross-campus drive-in spots, we will have fencing or guardrails separating walks from some of the driveway areas. So
thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that was in your purview and
Totally.
you were thinking of that.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Totally. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Steve?
Yeah, first of all, applause, loud applause for inclusion of the concept of a decent track and field setup. I wholeheartedly agree that we have some students who could take advantage of that, who wouldn't. I mean, we can't have a track and field program now, but we would be able to with that. So thank you for including that. And then just a clarification question, since it's not up on the screen in front of us, this phase 10 is both of the fields?
Yes, Steve. It's
that whole chunk.
It's that whole chunk. It's
okay.
It's the track, both fields, the lights, and the grandstands. Yes.
Gotcha.
And the parking. Yes.
Thank you. Amanda, did you have a comment? Question?
Yeah, I'll just say this all sounds really, really exciting. I know a lot of student athletes will be very excited about this, especially the track. And like you said, it's always good to have things for us to look forward to. So thank you so much for all your planning and hard work.
Quite welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Doesn't it make you want to stay on for a few more years, Amanda? And I'm supposing that there's heated seats, right, in the grandstand deck?
I'm sorry, Pauline. The seats will be the traditional, the standard, our aluminum seat flanks. So I'm sorry.
All right.
But
we'll still
maybe the boosters can start a little seat cushion fundraiser or something.
There you go. There we go. Well, thank you so much for a very thorough presentation. And it's really exciting to be at this stage of being able to have this conversation, because I know this has been on the plans for a long, long time. And I'm hoping that this will make Mr. Maury very happy that
Yes.
we're getting closer.
Right. Well,
Thank-
and I think on schedule wise, we are meeting again with the committee in early June after our Bacchus baseball and tennis bids come in after town meeting. And so I think the next step that the committee will be taking is, again, you will start seeing and hearing more about this project now as we start working toward public information, and most importantly, the process through the different town financing committees and components there.
Terrific. Well, thank you, as always, to you and to your team for a great presentation and well thought out plan. So thank you to you, and Dr. Hallett, thank you to everybody that's on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline.
Moving on to facilities presentation from Diane O'Neill, please.
Hello, everyone. Before I start, this has been a really tough year for facilities and grounds, as I'm sure you can understand. I would really like to give a shout out to my team. The building supervisors and the ground supervisors and all of their staff have worked tirelessly to make everything happen, to get us back in school, to get rooms set up, broken down. Every request it's amazing. It's amazing to me how hard these people work. And I just want to say they deserve a huge thank you, all of them. I'm just going to go quickly through each school like I normally do and give you a couple of sort of the larger projects that we've completed. We didn't get any funding last year from town because capital really wasn't funded, except for the boilers were funded at the high school. And I know Jen got some money for some equipment. But other than that, nothing was funded. So whatever we did a lot of in-house painting. When we were in quarantine, my staff took it upon themselves to paint hallways. It's just amazing. It's a really good group of people. Elementary school, the gym in the elementary school and the gym in the intermediate school, and Dick Webb had a lot to do with this. We spent the last 4 years arguing with the contractor because the intermediate school floor was peeling, and we actually got the whole entire thing sanded down to bare wood, and they refinished it, and it looks amazing. And at the same time, they did the elementary school gym. They just refinished the elementary school gym. The boilers at the elementary school, when they tore down the hospital, the old hospital, their facility director and I worked together. They gave us their burners, which are extremely expensive, and they had the same boilers that we had. So we installed their burners, which were only a few years old, on the elementary school boilers, and they are dual fuel. If we ever wanted to switch over to propane, we could. I don't think we'll do that, but it is an option. We did replace a large roof on the elementary school. I have some more roofs I'd like to tackle in coming years. In the intermediate school, we had a lot of HVAC issues, and we've been working on those. It's been a tough year for HVAC over there. And we also were able to solve the gigantic leak problem over there. It is finally, we think, solved. We haven't had a leak since, and we're very excited about that. In the middle school, we're just continuing on refinishing floors, taking out the carpets, and either putting VCT tile in or the rubber tiles that we used in the new NIS and in the new CPS wing. And they painted the middle school cafeteria. They also painted the high school cafeteria. That's our staff. That was all done in-house. In the high school, we did a large upgrade project, the software and equipment to the HVAC system that sits above the pool. We also did the energy recovery wheel replacement. SMRT has been extremely helpful with those projects as well. A lot of HVAC work in middle school, high school. And of course, the boiler replacement. We replaced the 2 older boilers. They were 30 years old for 3 smaller, more energy efficient boilers. It's working out quite well. As far as central office, grounds and athletics, of course, we have been working very hard on the campus-wide master plan. The Bacchus Lane baseball, varsity baseball, and the 5 tennis courts are out to bid right now. The bid is due on May 25th. We're hoping for some good bids and we can move forward with that if the funding is approved, Article 10 town meeting. So make sure you go and vote. In the central office sort of general pile, I put the HVAC system air quality evaluation that we did to get teachers back in for COVID. We were pretty happy with the results. We had some great results from our buildings and we were very, very pleased with that. Some minor things for the 32 Surfside Roadhouse. And in the current project pile, I have the campus-wide master plan because that is going to be ongoing for years to come. And I did put the 10.5 in there for the projected cost. And again, Bacchus Lane tennis and baseball. Also on town meeting this year is the replacement of the grounds Bobcat. And there's our normal NPS building improvement fund that we ask for $300,000 every year. Again, that wasn't funded last year. I'm really hopeful this year that those 3 projects get funded at town meeting. I also included in your packet the just sort of a quick spreadsheet on how much we spent from the Federal CARES Act, the State COVID Prevention Fund, and the State COVID Grant. We spent $265,000 really on supplies and cleaning and PPE. I just wanted to sort of give that to you. It's just a really quick overview, and I'm sure you saw it in your packet. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you so much. It never fails to amaze me every time you do a presentation. We look at your spreadsheets, just how much you get done, you and your crew. It's
Thank you.
I agree. Congratulations to your crew because they are amazing.
Thank you.
Steve, I see your hand up. Please
Yep,
go
just
ahead.
one word, Diane, bravo.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Jen, I saw your hand up.
I echo that, and to all your staff. I mean, they have done a tremendous job this year. I mean, they always do, but this year has brought on a lot of extra burden. One question I always like to ask is, where are we at with green communities?
Martin can probably respond to that because we did get a check for the boilers. So, and I haven't heard another word from them. I filed everything I was supposed to file and filled out all the extensive paperwork, and Martin said we did get some funding. So Martin?
Thank you.
I honestly, I'm not sure where we are with the green community, but I can double check. What I saw the other day was a journal entry for the racks that come from the windmill that were transferred. Those were about $1,700 of savings, but I haven't seen many details yet. So I can touch base with the energy office and the finance director and update you.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Martin. Amanda, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'll also just say thank you so much to you and your team. We're very lucky to have you guys and grateful for all the time and hard work you dedicate to our schools.
Thank you, Amanda.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amanda. All right. Yes, thank you so much, Diane. Please send our thanks to your crew.
Thank you.
Martin, you're up next, please.
Good evening, everyone. Again, it continues to be a challenging quarters now for the community school and the school lunch program. For Nantucket Public Schools, we are where we expect to be at this point of the year. We are at 67% expended of the total operating budget, which includes operating and payroll expenses. Expenses this year are trending $616,000 over last year at this particular time, with payroll being expended at 60% as compared to 62% last year. All in all these numbers, what they mean is, again, where we expect to see us, and it's very comparable to where we were last year. We are working and have already incorporated into our operating budget the remaining payments to Chartwells. So when you see an increase in the professional services account in the third quarter summary, in all the accounts of the school, it does incorporate already a $350,000 outstanding purchase order, which should cover all the expenses, everything we owe Chartwells for the months of March, April, May, and June. This is the area that is most concerning, as I mentioned half an hour ago. And right now we are at almost $220,000 deficit. So I thought it was prudent to transfer these expenses from the revolving account where they usually go to the operating budget of the school, because we will have to absorb this deficit regardless. The other option was to wait until the end of the year and do a journal entry right before we close the year, but this was just a more straightforward and easier option at this point. Everything else at this point, like when I look at the budgets and all the different categories of expenses, looks normal, and we don't. As Diane mentioned, we've had repair and maintenance done this year, continuous HVAC repairs. It's been challenging, but I believe we're in a good place, and hopefully those expenses taper off in the future years. The community school continues to go through the year to the extent possible. I have to give a huge shout out to all the staff that has remained very diligent, and they do face a revenue reduction, as you see, of $459,000. It's actually $509,000 operating revenue shortfall because of the increased subsidy from the town. There is a corresponding reduction in expenses at this point at almost $390,000. So I believe we'll be able to close the year and cover the deficit of the community school. We have pledged to support the community school through these challenging times. So we have regular communication with the director of the community school, Tracy Roberts, and the business manager, Katie Manchester, and they are doing a great job of following through on every expense and every possible revenue stream. It's just been difficult. We're hoping that somewhat of a more normal rebound in this fourth quarter. But we'll see how the year ends. And again, as every quarterly presentation I've done this year, huge thanks to all the organizations and private donors that have supported the community school in the past year, and now over a year. And it's been hugely beneficial to the programs and to the kids. Everybody's done, I think, a great job. So thank you. And the food service program, again, as I said, great job by Linda Peterson. I mean, I continue to be amazed at what this woman has done in such adverse conditions. At times, we have served almost 37,000 meals, lunches and breakfasts through the food truck and in person in the schools. It's been amazing. I've heard nothing but positive feedback from all the schools as to how well the staff has handled the situation, how professional and patient they have been, and timely. And they've just done an amazing job. It's just a difficult year, and hopefully, again, as I mentioned, if we are back in person in the fall, we're hopeful that all the federal and state reimbursements would be able to bridge that deficit and make it palatable for the upcoming school year. With that said, I'm going to open it to questions.
Thank you, Martin. Let's see if anyone has their hands raised. I do not see any committee member with their hand raised. Amanda, I hadn't texted you earlier on the just raising your hand, but do you have any comments or questions?
No questions, just thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Martin, yes, thank you. You know, you bring up some very important points, and I think particularly around the Nantucket Community School. You know, had it not been for COVID, when we got their last report, financial report, they were doing very well. And they were not only meeting their budget, but they were also well into the black, which was terrific. And so this is unfortunate to see, but not unexpected. And it's not because of the lack of effort. It's just been because they've had so many restrictions. I'm wondering, and this is really to the school committee, we have a PR and communications subcommittee, and I wonder if this is something that tonight has really been about all of the wonderful work that our employees have done, our grounds folks, to our leadership team, to our faculty, to the community school. And I think, I don't know that we promote ourselves as well as other schools. And I think that we've got a lot to be proud of, and we've come through an awful lot this last year. So I would like to suggest that the subcommittee of the communications maybe meet and see if we can put something together that could go out publicly, celebrating our successes, and also to remind everybody we are a public school, but we also rely on the community school. And I think that it would be really important to perhaps put out there all of what the community school does. And yes, I'm biased, as you all know that, and I will put that out there, but I do think we don't tell their story enough, and it would be really a catastrophe if we saw them go away. So that would be my suggestion. And off the top of my head, I can't remember who's on the communications subcommittee. So perhaps after this meeting, I'll reach out to Logan or look at my notes and see who's on that committee, and then reach out to the two members. So Steve, please.
Yeah, just since you were on the topic, I'd like to note that it is what we like to call Staff Appreciation Week. Internationally, they call it Teacher Appreciation, but I don't think that's enough. And I would like to emphasize that we cannot overemphasize our appreciation for the year that our staff has put in. And I'm using the plural on purpose because I know the rest of you feel the same way. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Martin, for your presentation. Thank you. Moving on to committee discussion and votes to be taken. May I have a motion, please, to approve the donation to Nantucket High School from Andrew Malcolm to the English department for $500?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Jen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you, Tim.
Aye.
Thank you, Steve.
Aye.
Thank you. April 15th, meeting minutes, 2021. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim.
I'd like some discussion, please.
Sure, yes.
Just a couple of words that struck me. Let me get my notes up here. In the discussion of going forward with Zona's replacement, I would like one word stricken and another replaced. I can't describe how far down in that section on school committee vacancy it is, but it is written that Mr. Sordovic emphatically stating he agrees with neither, blah, blah, blah. I'd like the word emphatically removed. I don't know what it means, and I don't think that minutes are intended to characterize what we are saying. Is that acceptable to everyone?
That is, hold on, let me come back to my screen to see if anyone has their hands raised. No, okay. So Logan, can I ask that you will find that and remove that, please, in a minute? And what was the word at? Sorry, Logan, go ahead.
I see it.
Thank you. And
then 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 or 4 lines, because I inserted a couple things I'm going to skip. Mr. Sordovic lectured the committee. I don't think I lectured anyone. I would suggest replacing lectured with the word iterated, since I was repeating something I had previously said.
thank you.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yep, I'm not seeing any other notes for the committee. So that's, yeah. So with that amendment, may I please have your vote? Janella?
Aye.
Thank you, Steve.
Aye.
Thank you. And Tim?
Aye.
Aye. And Pauline, aye. May I have a motion, please, for the transfer and invoices?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Tim, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Jen?
Aye.
Thank you, Steve.
Aye.
Thank you. And Pauline, aye. Okay, moving to subcommittee work. Has anyone met in their committees to report out? Not seeing any hands raised. Any acknowledgements or any comments that committee would like to make? Not seeing any of those. Thank you. I would just like to make an acknowledgement here at this point, and that is to remind our students and our parents and anyone that is watching here in our community. Our school is mourning the loss of a recent graduate, and I know that some of our students have reached out for support and help. I just would like to remind everybody that we have mental health counselors, we have counselors on board on our staff, and we also have addiction solutions, which Dr. Lepre oversees. And I would just like to remind everybody, addiction solutions doesn't necessarily not care or give support if you don't have health insurance. If you can't afford it, that doesn't matter. It's open to everybody. And it's just a reminder that it is there for our community. And our students and families are in our thoughts. May I go on to Amanda Mack, please, for her student council rep report. I think you are still muted, Amanda.
There we go. Okay. So last week we had a Kindness Matters campaign at the high school, where teachers were able to give out raffle tickets to students when they saw them being kind or doing kind things. And the raffle tickets can be entered for students to win prizes. So that was cool. Miss Bartlett organized that. And then AP exams have started this week. I believe today was the first one, starting with AP Calculus. And these tests will go through May 17th. And then next Monday starts the 20-day senior countdown. So we've begun designing the countdown to put up in the Hall of the Whale, which is something we always look forward to. And then May 1st was College Decision Day. So all seniors that are planning on attending college have made their decisions. So that's a big relief. And then lastly, I'll just say, I know myself and many other students are really eager to get back into the building tomorrow. And we're feeling lucky that we get to spend the rest of our year together. So thank you to everyone that made that possible.
That's great. Thank you, Amanda. And I'm really glad and thankful that everybody was able to work together and come up with plans for a safe prom and festivities that you all so well deserve and should have. So I'm glad that was able to work through. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just
Yes,
since
Steve.
Amanda brought it up, could we get, doesn't have to be for our next meeting, can just be emailed, an update to the presentation that we received recently about how many of our students are planning to attend college, if those numbers have changed significantly? If May 1st was the date, it would be great if we could just get an update.
Yeah, I know we're all updating our Naviance accounts now with all of our results and decisions. So I'm sure that will be out soon, and I can let you know if I hear anything.
Great, thank you.
That would be great. And perhaps Dr. Hallett, you would be in agreement to check in with our guidance office as well.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, college applications or acceptances are great too, but it would also be great if we had confirmations of students going on to vocational schools, or if they had jobs lined up beginning for the summer and all of that, because that would be well. And I think sometimes we go, I know I go by the Inky Mirror, and I don't know how far in advance they interview the students or whether that information comes from the guidance department. But I think sometimes that's maybe printed too early, because I don't think everyone's made their decisions or plans. And I know a lot of people in our community often bring that up to me. And so I don't know if we can put that off in the paper a little bit later until graduation. I can't remember exactly when it comes out, but anyway, that would be something I'd like to maybe look at timing wise for this year. Okay, agenda items, any comments or concerns with what's on the horizon for next meeting? Not seeing any. I would like us, because it's tricky for us to get time booked. Would we be okay arranging or discussing and agreeing on a date for the interviews for the position? I think we were sent an email that June 1st, which is our school committee meeting, or June 3rd. The only person I heard from was Steve, and his feeling was that we really want to make sure we give ample time for anybody who's applying. And so therefore, the option of going to June 3rd, I think Logan had shared 5 p.m. position was open, slot was open. And that would give time for, you know, not feeling like we're rushed or putting this in at the end of a meeting. So does anybody have an issue if we go to June 3rd at 5 p.m. for the interview? Because I would like to get it booked sooner than later, and not seeing any issues and nobody's hands are raised. Okay, so Logan, may I ask, hopefully it's still open? I'm presuming it is, because I think you put a loose hold on that date.
So I just wanted to confirm with everybody tonight that that was a go, and I'll make sure it's booked.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing nothing else, I would like to get a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jen. We're all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Jen. Aye, thank you. Be safe out there, everyone. Thank you for joining us all.
Thank you
so much.
all.
Great to
Good
see
night.
you all. Good night.
You too. Thanks, Dick. Bye-bye.